Is Mark Stone playing his way onto Team Canada's Four Nations squad, and are the Penguins already out of playoff contention? Hey everyone, welcome into Off the Post. Rob Wong, joined alongside by Steve Simmons, Bruce Garrioch, and Patrick Johnston. And well, guys, you took a look at the leading scorer in the NHL right now, and it's not Connor McDavid, it is not Nathan MacKinnon, it's not even Nikita Kucherov, it is 32-year-old Mark Stone, who has never scored more than 64 points in a season, already with 17 on the year. We're still a few months out from the Four Nations tournament, but it's fun projecting what the rosters will be. And I have to say, I haven't seen too many projections with Stone making Team Canada. Bruce, you've seen a lot of Mark Stone over the years. If you're making the team right now, is he on?
Well, look, I think that if you've asked any fan of the Ottawa Senators if Mark Stone should still be an Ottawa Senator, yeah, he should be, and they wouldn't give him a no-move clause, and that's why he moved on. That being said, look, Mark Stone is your heart and soul type of player. Is he the most skilled player in the world? No. All I ever heard about Mark Stone when he first came into the National Hockey League was that he couldn't skate. Well, he's a fine skater now. He gets the job done. He pays the price. I think in a short window tournament like that, he's not going to take bad penalties. He's going to make life difficult for the opposition. I've seen enough of this guy to know that he has leadership capabilities. I could see a scenario where Mark Stone certainly belongs on that team, but he's going to have to push some people aside, and that's where it gets difficult for him. Steve Simmons has maintained the weakness of this Canadian team will be its goaltending. The strength of this Canadian team, I think, Steve, will be its forward rank. And it speaks to Rob's point when a guy like Mark Stone is in a battle for a job.
He's not in a battle for a job. Forget the projections, forget all the other stuff, forget who you've spoken to. Mark Stone is on Team Canada, period, paragraph, done. He's the best player on the best line in the NHL this season. He's leading the league in scoring right now. They're talking about, they're going to pick this team based on what's going on this season. Well, if you're picking it, he's already found his spot. And the beauty of Mark Stone, and the Vegas people will tell you this, I'm sure the Ottawa people will say the same thing, Bruce. He can play first line. He can play first power play. He can play first penalty kill. He can play second or third or fourth line, depending on what you need him to do. And he won't say a word if he's put on any of those lines in a Team Canada scenario. So you got a guy that's a moving part. You can move him up the lineup if you need him up the lineup. You move him down the lineup if you need him doing something else. He can do every aspect of the game for you. He's a perfect player to be one of the Team Canada 12 forwards, and he will be that come February in Montreal and Boston.
The question was put to us before this podcast, Rob. I found myself going, wait, what? He's not? And then, of course, you go and look at the list, and you're like, okay, I guess, but I still have a hard time seeing him not being ahead of Matt Barzal, not being ahead of, respect to Nick Suzuki, but not being ahead of Nick Suzuki, not being ahead of Travis Konechny. I watched this guy a lot the last however many years. 5 years he's been in Vegas. 6 years he's been in Vegas. The guy, as Steve said, gets stuff done. And he always is reliable. He always shows up. He never makes a mistake. You never find yourself thinking, oh man, if Mark Stone had only blank. He gets it done. He's a guy you want on this team. To me, he's one of those first names in the lineup that you figure out how everyone else fits in. He should be in there for sure.
Yeah, sometimes you like the shiny new toy, but sometimes, the van gets the job done, and Mark Stone is that type of grinder player that can get it done on both ends of the ice. Meanwhile, the Pittsburgh Penguins in a free fall right now, having lost 5 in a row. I know most, if not all of us, were not very big on this team heading into the season, and I can't imagine we're feeling that much better about them now. They just signed Sidney Crosby to that contract extension before the season, Steve. They still have Malkin, Letang, and Carlson locked up. Is it too late for them to pull the plug and start the rebuild?
2 years ago was too late, Rob. For some reason, when Kyle Dubas went there as general manager, I think part of the bill of goods he was sold is you have to have Crosby and you have to have Malkin and you have to have Letang. Well, he had those 3 parts, are all nice parts individually at a certain age, not the age necessarily now. And after that, they don't have goaltenders. They don't have any young defensemen on the way up. They signed Erik Karlsson for reasons that still I don't understand. And so they're stuck with all of these old guys and a couple of defensemen that are past their due date. and they don't have any middle of the roster. They don't have any bottom of the roster, and they don't have any real good prospects coming up. I think this is a long-term rebuild, and I don't know how they're going to fix this thing once Crosby and Malkin are gone.
Steve's already mentioned it. Erik Karlsson signed until 2027. It's just a player that it was an odd fit for this team to begin with when you already had an older, high-end skilled defenseman in Chris Letang. Kyle Dubas, the joke I was making some of the other day, what are you going to do when half your team's older than the general manager? This is a team, I saw them on Saturday night. They're too slow. There's nothing going on. Mike Sullivan obviously has had an incredible career as a coach, but his team isn't playing the way he'd want him to play. He's obviously going to do his best. You got all these good things, and yet, as Steve said, this is 2 years past the sell-by date. Dubas came in, I guess, thinking, yeah, we can squeeze some more out of these guys, but it reminds me a lot of what happened here in Vancouver. There's the idea of squeezing more out of the Sedins, and we saw what happened here. We circled the drain for years and years and years. So the decision in Pittsburgh should have been, when do we trade Sidney Crosby? Not can we trade Sidney Crosby, but they've already answered that question, and that team is going kind of nowhere.
Well, and they're going nowhere fast. And we talked about this before the start of the season, but when you have to send your number one goalie to Scranton Wilkes-Barre for conditioning, which doesn't require waivers, and he's signed through 27, 28, it's a pretty difficult pill to swallow. And you hope that he can get himself back together. But I look at the Pittsburgh Penguins right now, and their hands are tied, Rob. It's easy to say, well, should they throw in the towel and rebuild? But good luck getting rid of some of those contracts. Even sharp teams, I think, would take Malkin and Crosby in a minute. I'm not sure they'd do what they do about a Letang and a Karlsson with the kind of commitment that those guys have to them right now. I can't. If you do it, you're going to have to eat money. They already have retained salary. Usually situations like this get the coach fired. And as Patrick said, like, Mike Sullivan has done a terrific job in Pittsburgh, but I could see a scenario where if things don't turn around, and it certainly doesn't look like they will, the coach gets fired.
There may not have been a better hockey team over a long-term period than the New York Islanders when they won 4 Stanley Cups and went to 5 finals in a row and won 19 playoff series in a row. And Bill Torrey, as good as general manager as he was, he kept that group together, and he kept them together, and he kept them together until Trottier was old and Bossy was done and Denny Potvin was at the end, and he had to fire Al Arbour, or Al Arbour quit, whatever happened there. And I don't know how many years they went without being any good at all. They went a long time. And you can't, when you have a group that's that good, this Penguins, this was a great Penguins team. They won 3 cups. They probably should have won more. And the Islanders were a 4-time champion. But it took over 10 years to get back to any kind of consequential play. And I think it might take that long for this Pittsburgh operation, unless they get some free agent signings of young players. Because do you see a 30-goal scorer there anywhere below the surface? Is there a budding 25-goal guy? Is there somebody on the way up about to knock on the door? I don't see them.
The 2 guys they could conceivably move just because they're cap hit, but they're both on no movement clauses. It's pretty clear they don't want to go anywhere. Would be Malkin and Letang. They're only making 6-1. Only making 6-1. But there's probably ways you could find.
Letang is how many years got left? So something
3
like 3
years.
or 4,
like it's tricky, man. Like two. You got 1 more season with Malkin. You got 2 more after this one. Like it's tricky. There's something there, but it's this. You're going to have to really be hard with blowing all this up, and I don't know if they actually have the stomach for that.
Yeah, it feels like there's going to be some tough conversations that need to be had in Pittsburgh this year with the Penguins. As always, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. For Steve Simmons, Patrick Johnston, and Bruce Garrioch, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.